start with a poem about poetry, and I think we all go through writer's blocks where words just don't come, and I was going through one of those times where words weren't coming, the ones that did were the ones I wanted, so I wrote this poem. It's called Invitation to a Poem. I'm hosting a coming out party, but the only words that have shown are lovesick fools, embarrassing and sentimental, unconcerned with appearances or style. They weren't invited, but they have come with their candy hearts and cheap champagne. Each pushes into the room and leaves decorum at the door, laughing too loud, lingering too long in the corner. They stumble in, stutter a greeting, exchange awkward glances across the punch bowl, and pick at the hors d'oeuvres. They are not respectable lovers, but ones who swoon secretly, slip between pages, hide in half-truths, wishing they didn't have to wait under the tongue buried beneath believable lies. They've taken all the parking spaces, and the words I hoped would arrive drove around the block and went home. The gray wolf wears her fur bosom, strains at the precipice, stark in shadow. Her howl follows the tangerine moon as it beckons at the blunt edge of rock. These canyon calls stir ancestral cells in my blood that move to the pulse of my grandmother's womb, the umbilical rhythm laid down before conception. I am steeped in women who furrowed the fields, watched the woods, swept out caves, pounded stone to stone, keen for what they no longer held. I feel the wolf's frosty breath rise in my throat, and I tip back my head. This is called Outdoors. Almost a feral child, she crawls through leaves and broken branches, with scuffed knees and torn shirt. As long as the last dappled light hits the moss, she stays to turn stones for bugs, dig holes puppy dog-like, scattering dirt in the musty wooded air. Sometimes she wonders if she will hit China she digs so deep, fingernails packed with moist earth, till the darkness drops deeper than her arms can reach. Ragdolls and tea sets are no match for this playground of acorns and ants, where she breathes in her childhood beneath the oaks and poplars. At night, when Mama hollers, she heads back to the house with flat walls and heavy doors, and dreams of trillium and pill bugs, and hears the chirp and crackle that calls her back out when she awakes. This one's called Augustine's. It's the one Sestina that I wrote about every fall. My grandmother used to come, and my mother gave a can of applesauce, and it's kind of a family tradition. Apple steams. Sweet apple steam filled the kitchen when Grandma came, bushel baskets full of Jonathan's ready for a ritual. With Mom, she donned her apron to wash, peel, and slice the pieces into the pot of boiling water. The blend of apple and water was not as thick as their kitchen ties, family communion broken off in pieces of conversation, while mason jars full of sauce were boiled in a wash, sealing the ritual. Every fall, the ritual was simmered in water as a late afternoon wash of gold glowed in the kitchen. Working side by side, the pot was full as they gathered up the pieces. I sat nearby to catch pieces of their stories, absorbing ritual like the apples, soaked full of sugared water, in jars lining the kitchen counters. Then there were dishes to wash and aprons and hands to wash, while they picked up the pieces of peel that littered the kitchen, remnants of the ritual of mixing apples and water till all the jars were full. The sink full, Mom started to wash, hands immersed in water. Grandma dried the porcelain pieces, completing the ritual that unfolded in our fall kitchen. The day was full, one of those childhood pieces I remember when I washed and cooked the ritual of apples simmering in water with sweet steam in my kitchen. This was called Hamlin Lake at Dusk, and our family used to go camping a lot up at Ludington State Park, and has the big lake on one side and Hamlin Lake on the other. And during the day, the beach was packed, and I went back one time at early evening, and it was just me and the geese. So this was called Hamlin Lake at Dusk. I've arrived like the geese to rest at dusk in the empty expanse. Dark necks and tawny bodies feather the beach. Feet curl into sand, my gaze traces the gold that streaks the dark surface of the lake, sun-cupped on the far rim. It is the slight shift of stillness that draws me here, to sit transfixed by the flowing gold, witness with the birds till settling the summer night. This is another summer one. We have a big festival beginning of June every year in Grand Rapids. This is called Festival of the Arts. We mill through festival, cutting through crowds of cerulean shirts, peasant skirts, and caption tees, surrounded by striped canvas tents and open-air band shows. Fragments of folk songs mingle with guitar riffs and dance beats. Grilling smoke carries the sweet scents of marinated meat. Garlic and mesquite and figs drizzled with honey assail our senses. The children chalk the walk near art booths selling fragile glass and earthenware pottery. Strollers steer through the street. The crazy lady in the front row with a speckled cap gets up to dance, and the giant tire swing sways around and around, and the hum of it all binds us together, bodies in motion, art in mass. The last one is also about poetry. We poets sometimes tend to overanalyze things, and I was asking a friend about his poem, does it mean this, does it mean that? He said, no, it pretty much just means what it says. This is called A Boy and His Dog. You wrote a poem about a curly-haired boy, his curly-tailed dog, a purple ball, and I perused the lines to glean just what it all could mean. Did the boy signify all humankind, his curls, the tangled coils we leave behind? Or was he really meant to bring to mind your younger days in all their ways, with all you sought to find? And what of the dog and the curl of tail, a bend in time or place, a turn? Interface of man and world, or else the side of oneself that chases its tail and runs? The color purple could be construed as magic, mystic, or royal hue. The ball itself, tossed to the dog, could be what you sent forth. Then retrieved, it might have been what life sends back to you. I mentioned it to you one day, my query about your intent, the boy, the dog, and all. You replied, seeing it what you may. I wrote this poem of my little boy, his dog, a ball, and how he loved to play.